Hello and welcome. I hope you're all okay. I am good. Just got back off holiday a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, just doing this next video now just to see how it's all coming along. I've done a few little bits and bobs and thought processes have moved on. So let's get to it. It's a nice autumnal afternoon in the middle of November. That you can see it's a bit this tree here is just starting to drop its leaves. It's not fully done it yet, but yeah, they're starting to come. If you look over in the play area, as we get over there, you'll see the mess it's made, but we'll get onto that. So my thoughts mainly is kind of what order to do what, because we're coming into the more expensive time of the year, as in 1 or 2 paydays before Christmas. So I can't really splash out a couple of £100 a month like I was doing in the summer, which kind of means that I'm not going to be able to do that waterfall at the back this winter where all these rocks are going to go on a big vertical waterfall right over there in the corner that's all bare. We'll get over there in a minute, but essentially I make that I'm going to need about £600 all in to even start doing that, because I'm going to need a pallet and a half of blocks, dumpy bag of sand, cement, hire a cement mixer, pallet of blocks, half a pallet of thermalite, the pump, the spillway, the the pond membrane, and that's just all I can think of to get it going. So that one's probably going to have to wait now until spring or summer next year. The only trouble with that is that as soon as it gets into planting season again, there's only one thing I'm going to want to spend the money on. But yeah, it is what it is. So yeah, I'm kind of thinking of stuff I could do which it's not that it doesn't cost anything, but just that I can sort of keep going with. My main thing is I'm thinking maybe I could finish this corner off, this rear sort of left section of the garden behind the climbing frame, because I've already done the fence at the back halfway up, so I could just get more of that wood and just chuck it up, and then that'll be that done, and then I can run the trellis across the top of those two at the back behind the climbing frame. Maybe because those fences are going to stay as they are, I could run the trellis, carry it around these first two in the centre of the screen coming towards us from that corner, and then that'll be, apart from the actual putting in of plants, that'll be that whole almost quarter of the garden done. The only thing I'm a bit sort of umming and ahhing about is, for example, this part here where the trellis is going to run across the top of there. The trellis comes the same width as the fence post, but as you can see my fence posts don't go up high enough to attach a trellis to it, so I'm thinking of getting, if you imagine one of these fence posts sliced in half lengthways, so i.e. instead of it being 10 by 10 it's 5 by 10, screw them in from this side of it as we were into the front of the fence posts, and then I can attach the trellis sort of to them, if you see what I mean. That's what I'm sort of thinking of doing. Or I buy trellis which is like maybe 60, I want to come up 30 centimeters above the top, so maybe buy something that's 60 or 90 and then have the 30 over the top, and then have the rest of it overlapping down, and I can fix it into the existing fence post, something like that. But the only thing is, this is going to be a seating area. It's going to have a roof on this fence post here. If you imagine that well, you don't have to imagine it, it's right there, but if you imagine where this bamboo is in the centre of the screen, the right one of the two, if you imagine that's roughly where the fence post is going to be, just a little bit towards us, but sort of in line with that, I'm going to have a big strut that runs from the top of that fence post across to this one, and then I'm going to need one to run from where the bamboo is across to where the lantern is, and I think that's going to need to sit on top of that fence post. So if that's the case, how is the trellis going to tie in if there's a big bit of wood going up there or something like that? So yeah, something for me to ponder anyway. But yeah, I've got a few other things to be getting on with, but let's do a little walk around and we'll sort of see what's just been going on and what I've been doing. I apologise for I don't apologise for the wind is the wind. So we're down in Camellia Corner. We've got the 2 camellias there which are doing quite nice. You can probably see they are just about to start budding out, so I'm quite happy with that. That should be quite nice timing for that. Other than that, in this corner we've got the bamboo, which will just leave how we do it. The one thing I could really be getting on with is if I get an actual fence post, because you can see this is just what I've mocked up to see how it looked. and actually sink it into the ground and get all that screwed in properly, then that will be that done and dusted. And also it means if I want to, this sort of block flower bed I've made, I can carry it on across and do whatever I want to do to tie it up in here. The little Cyathea is doing quite well, the couperii. This is the one I've had from a very small plant. So small, I think the only original leaf on it is that small one there in between them. It did have a couple of others, but I chopped them off because they got damaged or were damaged on the board. But that's done quite well this year. He's in a pot, he quite likes it. I've moved the other Cyathea couperii, which was up where that the back fence, that left banana, it was there. I only got it about a month ago. It's now here, and it really, I don't know if it's just me, but it really pops out against the bricks, if you know what I mean. It's one of them sort of things. So I've just put that there to keep it a bit more sheltered, although it doesn't seem to be doing a lot with the wind. But it is an absolute beauty. It's hard because they're all my favourites, but this is probably a bit more of one of my favourites, so let's hope I don't kill it. This is for this year. I'm going to keep these two in pots, and just if we get any low temperatures, I'm just going to drag them in the house. The wife won't be happy, but obviously that's not a permanent solution. I am planning on putting these two in the ground next year and possibly getting another one. And I hear you say, how are you going to overwinter it out there? Well, we'll get to that in a minute. So yeah, but anyway, this one's just going to sit here for now. It does look absolutely lovely and stunning, and it all sort of creeps out at a nice high level rather than a normal fern, so that would look really good in the garden. So anyway, that's that. The Cyatheas, I'm just keeping him there until we drop into particularly low temperatures. I've just moved him from over there. Had to move the bench to make room for it, so that's that. In this area here, where this eucomis is, like I said, I'll take this out probably next year or this year, and I'll put it into a pot for next year, because I think as a bulb, I think it'll look quite good in a pot because the leaves are quite good for that, but we'll soon find out. So in there's going to be the giant honeysuckle I've got, which is causing me quite big issues actually. It's just not doing anything, and I think last time I said I repotted it into a bit of a lighter mix. I then went on a holiday, and my mistake was I left it outside over my holiday and the soil got absolutely saturated, so I've actually had it in the kitchen window. It's not there at the moment, but it's been there for about a week now. Hasn't done anything, the soil hasn't dried out, so I've just actually today moved it up into the airing cupboard, just to help dry it out a little bit, and then I'm going to stick it in the one south-facing window we've got, and just see how it does basically. But otherwise, the Atrata Blechnum chilense, that's throwing up new fronds, and with the Cyatheas and the giant honeysuckle, I think I may need some form of protection on it, and I'm sort of thinking, we'll get over to it in a minute with the other Cyathea, but if I got like some nice bushy fern or something like that in and around it, it would just protect the base in the winter a little bit. I'd probably still need to do something, but it's better than nothing. And in here I was thinking maybe a Lophosauria in there, in and around the giant honeysuckle, but yeah, that's way down the line. Much more important things to do from that. Other than that, in this bed, the canna is going nice and strongly. You can see the bananas have been absolutely mullered by the wind, but funny enough, if we get back down to, sorry, it's not treacherous, it's garden in the wet. If we get down to this level, you can see the ones above the fence line have been absolutely torn to shreds, but then literally as soon as you get to the fence line, they're actually not too bad. So that says to me that putting a trellis up a bit higher might make a difference. So yeah, trellis it will have to be. So yeah, you can see this canna's doing well. You can see that one stalk going up in the centre. I mean, I make that's got to be 8 foot, that flower spike, and it's just about to flower now, so I'm not going to cut him down yet. I'll do it when the temperatures just go down that next notch. Otherwise, over here at the top of the planter, these two aren't doing too bad. That's a Ariostaga Pravi-Pinata on the right, or a hare's foot fern, because the rhyme zone creeps. The one on the left was a new one. It's only a little tiny one. It's a Denistadia glauca, so we'll see if they survive in there. Hopefully they will. We've got the 3 banana pups here, which I'll just chuck in. Here's the Lophosauria. He's doing quite well, just bushing out, starting to send up some high fronds now, so hopefully this thing's really going to get going now. I did chop off one earlier because it was all a bit brown and that, but can you just see the underside colour of it? It's like a nice light blue. So yeah, hopefully when this thing sizes up it'll be nice. Otherwise the Tetra Panax is looking a bit sorry for itself. It's a bit annoying because I think it's sort of settled down root wise now, but then we just lost the heat and it's just not it's not growing anymore, if you see what I mean. I think it's shutting down, so I don't know what to do with that. I may just dump a load of leaves on top of it like a big huge mound of them and just see if it survives over winter. Like with a lot of these flower beds here, actually what I'm going to do, all these leaves which are coming out, and the tree hasn't even started dropping its leaves yet, and it's, you know, it's all, so I'm going to have quite a lot of them. So I'm thinking I could pretty much just fill up the flower beds with them, like with this thing here, the wood rhodia. It's sending out another frond here, as you can see, which has got a nice little red sort of tingy to it, but it looks like it's been eaten or something, or yeah, spiders tried to make a web out of it or something like that, so we'll see how that goes. But it's got 4 more croziers coming up there, so that's quite good. He seems to be doing well, but again, I think this does need, until established, needs a little bit of protection, so I'll probably just dump a load of leaves on that and all in the flower beds. Hydrangea seems to be doing okay. Pilostagia verbenoids, that one is, obviously I've only just put that one in a couple of months ago, so that won't be showing anything till next year. Next to that is the Schefflera Taiwaniana. Again, I don't really want to move it if I don't have to. It's got about 4 to 6 inches of what looks like wood, and then the rest of it's kind of that sort of purpley almost wood, so yeah, again, I might just do the same with them, as if it gets particularly cold I might just bump a load of leaves up to it. So here's the Herrenhausen, which is going strong and got a bit of life to him now. We're later on in the year. He's doing okay. I've moved the one that was over there to over here. There he is, and then there's the Atrata there. And what I'm thinking with the Cyatheas is that if I was to, for example, if you think these things are going to bush out and get, you know, that thing over there is a lot bigger than that. If I was to put a Cyathea in the centre of it, then these fronds in the winter from these 2 ferns should sort of do something when it comes to, you know, whether it just keeps the wind off the base of it, or the crown or whatever, you know what I mean. So yeah, it might do it, but we'll see. Funny enough, going into that, all these are kind of doing okay. You may have noticed or may not have noticed on my bamboo pole, the reason that's here is because I've got this little temperature sensor here. I bought a couple of mini maxi temperature gauges, temperature sensors, the other day, and what I'm doing is, this is my control one here, just because I'm not going to have any plants there, and all I'm going to do is just keep that one there. And you probably didn't notice, but that bamboo has got 3 hooks on it. It's got one at the low level where that one is, one medium up, and then one at the top. And the idea of that is so that I'm going to keep that one there, and then every night I'm going to move that around the garden at different heights, and then I'm going to put a little spreadsheet together or do my whiteboard or something, and just just note if, because it's all relative to each other, if that makes sense. So I'm not worried about you know, the actual literal, if it's 10 degrees there, it's 8 degrees there, it's 8 degrees there. It's more, it's -1 degree there, -1 degree there, half a degree there. It's actually 1 degree warmer over there. And then what that should hopefully do is give me an idea of any hot or cold pockets, just in case they've got plants there. You know, if where that Cyathea is going, for example, to the right of that Dixonia, if that's, you know, 2 degrees colder than that side of the garden, I know I'm going to have to do a lot more protection to that one than anything that might be over that side. So, yeah. Oh yeah, the last thing is that this water butt thing, I've tried it out and it didn't work. Well, it didn't work the first time round, but then I got it to work. So what it was that I had originally 2 outside taps on it, and then it went off into a little thing. When I hooked it up to the outside tap, it didn't work, and I was thinking, that's not right, because there should be something coming out, even if only one or two of the drippers is going off. And what it is that these taps are taking one off here. Can you just see in the end of it, it's got that sort of white, it's got the tape around the thread, and on the inside that's a check valve, which just basically means that no water can come back this way. And the idea of that is that if there's a backflow prevention, so essentially what it is like, say I had a hose hooked up to an outside tap that's on the main. If that tap was full of water and out in the sun all day, it will react with the rubber and it will contaminate it. And then if the water main in the road went, it would create a siphonic action and bring that water back into the main in the road and contaminate it. So that's the idea of what they're for. But unfortunately for me, they need a bit of pressure to get them going. I think there's a little bit comes out of them, but it's not a lot, and I think it's to do with that, because what I had to do in the end was just take it off, and then the end of the irrigation, which is just on a normal hose connector there, I just had to get the spout thing and just connect it onto a little fitting that I've got there, and then I ran it, and it all runs sweet as a nut. Every dripper had water coming out of it, apart from the ones that are hooked up to that high sort of bit, but that was the bit going out the fence, which I was just experimenting with last year. So yeah, that's good. But what I've decided, because what I was going to do was effectively have the two outlets here, run them down into some form of timers, and then run it off. But I've sort of been thinking, I won't go too much into it at the moment, but what I'm going to do is actually all the gubbings for that I'm going to put on the inside in the utility, and then like the electrics and pumps or anything like that won't be prone to the elements. So all it is this pipe at the back, which runs off and will run off to more water butts. I can cut into it halfway, and then it'll be feeding it, and all it means is that I just need to, from the utility, which is the other side of the wall in there, I just need to send two pipes out in those bottom pipes there, and one will be for the low irrigation, one will be for the high irrigation. I can set it all up on timers and things. I'm currently looking into a frost stat, an outside frost stat, because what I'm thinking is that if you imagine like that Cyathea, for example, is just in the ground. Just imagine that's in the ground, yeah. If I had something like this coil of copper, like that, and essentially did that, if I placed that around that Cyathea and it's in the ground, and then run hot water through it, that will keep the frost off the roots, and also it will like radiant heat up. So it might, just for something like that, it probably wouldn't work for a Dixonia because the crown is on the top of the trunk. But for this, if I was to put that copper coil in that pot, essentially around the sort of rim of it at the top, that will keep the soil below it, because frost goes down, that will keep the soil below it warm enough that it won't frost up, and then heat will rise up at least a foot or two, which is probably to where that crozia is coming up, and then that should hopefully be enough. And with it being what I do for a living, as in plumbing and heating, I can essentially run a pipe from the utility, hook it up to the radiator circuit somehow, and then when the frost stat clicks on, it's going to get 5 degrees in that area. It'll click it on, open up a little valve, and then it'll just, if I imagine if you run a pipe in just one length of pipe, bring it out here, run it all the way around wherever it's going to go to that part over there, coil around the Cyathea, and then start coming back, next Cyathea, coil, come back, next Cyathea, coil, all the way back, giant honeysuckle, coil, and then bring it back here, and then back into the utility and hook up to the other side. So effectively it's like a big radiator, if you want to think of it like that. I reckon that'll work. So yeah, that's one of my projects to be getting on with. I'll have to flesh out the ideas. Ideally I want a wireless battery operated switching system, but I'm having trouble locating one, so we'll get to that when we get to it. But otherwise, the only other thing of note that I've done really is I've taken the dahlias out and revealed the Dryopteris cristata I think that one is that might be an Aphenis, that one, but I've completely forgot he was there, but he's still living. He's been living in the shade of the dahlia, so there you go. Anyway, hope you're having a good one. Cheers, bye.